Reactions have trailed the recognition of Sunday Ude Okoye as the substantive National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party by the Board of Trustees. The chairman of the Board of Trustees, Adolphus Wabara, stated this while reading the communique at the conclusion of an emergency meeting held at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. Wabara urged the PDP to swiftly swear in Ude Okoye in accordance with the Enugu Court of Appeal judgment, which recognizes Ude Okoye as the substantive National Secretary of the party. The PDP has been embroiled in a leadership crisis exacerbated by the fallout from the 2023 general elections. The battle over the National Secretary position intensified after the Southeast PDP nominated Ude Okoye to replace Senator Samuel Anyanwu, who contested the Imo State governorship election. To help make sense of this, we are joined by convener PDP Youth Alliance for Good Governance, David Godwin. David, good evening, or rather good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Let's start by asking if you can explain the process that led to the endorsement of Ude Okoye as the substantive National Secretary for the PDP. Was it a unanimous decision among the party leadership?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. Good afternoon, Nigerians. Permit me to, establish what really happened that led to the BOT's decision to endorse or recognize the former national youth leader of the party and currently the national secretary of the party, Right Honorable SK Ude Okoye, as the substantive national secretary of the People's Democratic Party. I'm sure it is no longer news that Nigerians are aware that the party has been embroiled in so many tussle and then crisis, if I may say. And now the BOT meeting which took place sometimes last week in the National Secretariat of the party in Wadata Plaza, I think the 87th BOT meeting was, so to say, or thereabouts. So after the Court of Appeal judgment, which rightfully upheld the judgment of the lower court, that look, Right Honorable SK Ude Okoye is the substantive national secretary of the party. And let me clarify certain issues before going further. That after the judgment of the High Court that was sitting in Enugu, it was Sam Anyanwu, the SAP's national secretary, that actually proceeded to appeal court to appeal the lower court judgment, which already that's the High Court judgment already gave judgment to Right Honorable SK Ude Okoye as the substantive national secretary, because the judgment held that since Senator Samuel Anyanwu, the former national secretary, vied for the position of the governorship of Imo State, upon that he ceases to be the national secretary of the party. Because if you look at the constitution of the party, I can't really, pin my constitution is not me, so I can't really, lay my hands on particular provision. But as a national secretary of the party, you automatically append your signatures to every document that leads to that process that ensures a credible candidate emerges. And in that case, the lower court said, look, Anyanwu, you cannot be a judge in your own case, because it's like organizing a football competition of which Anyanwu is a partaker in the football competition, and then he is at the same time the referee. So the court held that, look, it is not possible, so he has to step aside. It was Anyanwu himself that actually took up this matter to the appeal court and lost. Because after the High Court judgment, SK Ude Okoye was everywhere trying to get the party to recognize him as the substantive national secretary of the party.
So, David, was this a unanimous agreement? Was it unanimous?
It wasn't. I make bold to say that it was unanimous, because remember that there was a committee set up by the BOT to be headed by Tenimu Turaki SAN, and then they did a thorough job. They did a thorough job by inviting the two parties to bring their judgment to the table so that they can look at it very well and look at which one hold water.
So what qualifications?
They cross-checked it.
So, David, what qualifications and experience does Ude Okoye bring to the role of National Secretary that makes him the ideal candidate for this?
Of course, you cannot even, the experience is there. Right on the West, Ude Okoye has been a two-time member of the Enugu State House of Assembly. He was a House leader in that assembly. Right Honorable Ude Okoye was the former national youth leader of the PDP. So if in terms of experience, Ude Okoye possesses ample experience to lead the party in the right direction and steer the ship of the party towards safe harbor, if you ask me. So if you're talking about qualifications or experience, I mean, that is not even, it's not even an issue to want to talk about. The man, look at after the appeal court judgment, look at what he has done with the NWC. He has moved swiftly. I think he has seen close to like 6 governors out of the 13 governors of the party to make sure that, look, issues that are bothering the party are brought to the fore and then quashed out. And then this is, you now look at the man that he has experience and then he knows what he wants to do with the office. Okay, look at the other man. What has he been able to do?
So what are the implications of his endorsement as National Secretary? How does this affect the structure of the party?
Now, if you look at the judgment of the appeal court, the judgment of the appeal court said that since the day Sam Anyanwu vied for the governorship position of the party, whatever Anyanwu has laid his hands on in terms of signatory, it becomes nullity. So it is null and void. Now, Ude Okoye's emergence as the national secretary of the party has in no way changed anything about the structure of the party remains. So what he is going to do is to quickly move into actions to begin to nip the problems of the party in the bud. In terms of in terms of congresses that have been conducted, in terms of crises that's going on, probably across all boards. You're talking about states, local government levels, what have you. So the emergence of Ude Okoye, I think he is going to quickly try to see how he can nip that into the bud and see how the party can galvanize the party, to be in unity going into 2027 election. Because as we speak, the truth is this: the party, if you look at PDP, the PDP, though in crisis, remains still viable, remains still a strong force to take power from the All Progressive Congress in 2027.
Well, David, want to say thank you very much for loaning us your afternoon to have this very interesting conversation. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Moving on now. In the meantime, the senator representing Delta North in Nigeria's Delta State has officially defected from the opposition People's Democratic Party to the ruling All Progressives Congress. The South-South lawmaker announced his defection in a letter read by Senate President Godswill Akpabio during Tuesday's plenary. His defection comes amid ongoing internal crisis within the PDP, leading the Delta North senator to recommend the establishment of an ad hoc committee by the upper chamber to investigate the party's challenges and safeguard multi-party democracy in Nigeria.
In view of the need to maintain multi-party democracy in Nigeria, I urge the Senate to take this matter seriously by setting up an ad hoc committee. It did not suggest we should head it, so we didn't mention Senator Abaribe, to investigate the crisis within the People's Democratic Party and even go ahead to recommend a way forward in order to safeguard opposition politics in Nigeria. This ad hoc committee should examine the root causes of the PDP's political internal implosion and engage relevant stakeholders and propose reforms that will ensure the survival of a viable opposition in Nigeria after the demise of this PDP.
Now, still talking politics, the Rabiu Kwankwaso faction of the New Nigeria People's Party has rejected the convention that led to Agbo Major's election as the party's new national chairman. The faction led by Kwankwaso insists that the convention was illegitimate and that Ajuji Ahmed remains the only recognized national chairman of the party. During the convention, Major's faction also saw the emergence of other key officials, including Ogini Olaposi as national secretary, Felix Chukwura as deputy national chairman, South, Ade Toyosi Omokanye as National Treasurer, Babayo Mohammed as Deputy National Chairman, North, and Abdulrazak Abdusalam as National Publicity Secretary. However, the Kwankwaso faction, represented by NNPP Public Secretary Ladipo Johnson, dismissed Major's faction as a renegade group. Governor Monday Okpebholo of Edo State has suspended his Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice Samson Osagie over alleged financial malpractices. In a statement on Wednesday, Umar Ihilo, Secretary to the state government, said the governor also suspended the chairman of the Edo Local Government Service Commission, Damian Lawani. Ihilo noted that both suspensions were with immediate effect, adding that the governor has set up an investigative committee to probe the allegations against them. Ihilo also said the suspension will persist pending the conclusion of investigations. Meanwhile, the suspended Attorney General has vowed to vigorously defend himself to establish his innocence. Now, the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Public Communications, Sunday Diary, has revealed that some West African nations who asked to leave the economic community of West African states after recent military takeovers are reportedly taking steps to re-engage with the regional bloc within the 6-month window set last December. The withdrawal followed a series of military takeovers in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, which led to their suspension from ECOWAS and strained relations with the bloc. At the 66th Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of States and Government on December 15, 2024, the bloc approved the withdrawal of the 3 estranged states by January 29, 2025. However, it declared a 6-month transition period lasting until July 29, 2025, within which it would engage in withdrawal protocols. The House of Representatives Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution announced on Thursday that it has received 31 proposals for the creation of new states across the 6 geopolitical zones. A letter from the committee on the request was read by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu during plenary. He outlined the conditions that must be met before state creation requests can be approved. According to the letter, the proposals include 5 from the North Central, 4 from the Northeast, 5 from the Northwest, 5 from the Southeast, 4 from the South South, and 7 from the Southwest. Advocates for the design, or rather redesign, of Nigeria's federal structure have always pointed to the need to correct mistakes in the way states were created by the military between 1967 and 1996. And now to security matters. The members representing Onitsha North State constituency in the Anambra State House of Assembly, Justice Azuka, has reportedly died in the hands of his abductors. Confirming this situation, the police public relations officer Tochukwu Ikenga, in a press statement, noted that outgoing Commissioner of Police in Anambra State, Obono Itam, said the joint security team in the state in the early hours of Thursday, February the 6th, 2025, while on a rescue mission, found the lifeless body of the legislator at the section of the 2nd Niger Bridge. Although the statement does not have details, the outgoing Commissioner of Police says the police are on top of the game. Now we go back to a previous story on ECOWAS and the defecting states or countries. And to discuss this development, we are joined by Global Affairs Analyst Chike Chude. Mr. Chude, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. So what are the potential challenges in reconciling the foreign and security policies of the breakaway member states with the current ECOWAS regional policy?
Well, I'm not sure there's going to be much, changes, but this is just one side of the divide telling us what is likely going to happen, that the breakaway members are proposing to return. This is just a few weeks, or should I use a few days ago, that they finalized their pullout. So if after a few days after finalizing their pullouts from the body, and a few days after, a week or 2 weeks after, they are talking about proposing to come back, then the whole thing smacks of unseriousness on the part of the breakaway members of ECOWAS, because it is a very serious matter that you think that it was well thought about before they actually embarked on this attempt to break away from ECOWAS. And so I find, of course, I'm not in a position to doubt the statement from the federal government, but until we get a statement from the other side, also agreeing with what the federal government, the statement from the federal government, is saying, then I might for now take it with a pinch of salt. But regardless of that, if they are going to come back, what will be the new conditions? What will be the basis of their coming back? Because you remember that when they pulled out, they gave so many reasons why they were pulling out. Have things changed also all of a sudden? Have those issues been addressed by ECOWAS? And if they have not been addressed by ECOWAS, why are they proposing to come back? So this does not make sense to me. They talked about the fact that they feel that ECOWAS has not been beneficial to their country since the inception of ECOWAS, and that whether at the level of economic development and integration or security issues matters, that ECOWAS has failed. So what has happened? What is the new thing? And that's why, like I said, I have my doubts. But of course, it's a good thing if they're going to come back. If they're going to come back, there will be new realities that they have to obviously discuss with ECOWAS. There has to be, new conditions, I believe, that will be given by the breakaway members.
So on that, Chude,
yeah.
On that, I would like to ask what measures you think ECOWAS needs to put in place to help this integration so that it doesn't impact negatively on the sovereignty of the rest ECOWAS states.
I don't know. I'm stumped, I must tell you. Because all this while, ECOWAS has been doing what ECOWAS needed to do. But don't forget again that if they are going to come back, they are going to come back as a military juntas again. And the ECOWAS protocol frowns at, even the African Union protocol frowns at military incursion into the politics of African nations. And so if they are going to come back, they are still going to come back as military strongmen. And so it means that ECOWAS will still have to be discussing and negotiating with them and interacting with them, based even in spite of their military background. And that is going to be a problem. Don't forget that one of the things that the juntas in these countries have had, one of the problems they've had with ECOWAS is that ECOWAS was trying to set up a transition to democracy, a transition plan for some of these countries. And they were resisting it from Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. And I mean, there was this resistance. They didn't want ECOWAS telling them what to do. They didn't want ECOWAS giving them a timeline. They wanted to be the ones to do it, to determine. And so if they come back now, what will ECOWAS do? I suspect that ECOWAS, in order to encourage them to remain, if they do come back again, we have to play it down, have to play the issue of the fact that these people are military dictators. They will just have to, play it down in order to keep them within the fold. And once they do that, they'll be violating the core principle of ECOWAS, which is intolerance to military adventurism in the politics of African countries.
Well, you speak of intolerance, but it seems like it's being considered. And if it is going to be considered, and if anything is going to happen, how can two totally different formats exist inside of the ECOWAS bloc, where you have the military and then you have democratic states? What compromises need to be made if this is going to exist?
It's what I'm saying exactly, that there's a contradiction, really. There's a contradiction because you have a regional body that is averse to political incursion in the politics of member states. And then you have some member states that have, broken away and they now want to come back. They still remain military dictators. So how is ECOWAS going to maneuver, their relationship with them? If they keep them within their fold, would they not be encouraging other members of the ECOWAS to perhaps do the same thing, and that the regional body, the sub-regional body will look the other way? So this is the issue. And that's why I said it will be a core violation, to be a violation of ECOWAS core principle of disdain and contempt for military adventurism in the politics of West African countries. So it's going to be a bit of a problem. But like I have said, we cannot draw a conclusion to the statement that they are proposing to come back. Otherwise, it speaks volumes about the lack of responsibility of these juntas to pull away a few weeks ago and then to want to come back, within a space of a few weeks. What has changed? What has led them to want to come back? What is it that they have seen on the other side that they do not find rosy? So these are the things I'm talking about. But then again, ECOWAS, we have to play down, like I said, on this issue of transition back to democracy.
Okay.
Because they don't want to hear it.
Well, Tsiga Chude, I want to say thank you very much. Very interesting insight there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on now, suspected bandits have kidnapped former NYSC Director-General Major General Mahrazu Tsiga alongside several residents of Tsiga village in Katsina State. Eyewitnesses say the attackers, armed with sophisticated weapons, stormed Tsiga's residence on Wednesday night. The attack lasted only a few minutes, leaving 2 residents wounded, while one of the bandits was mistakenly shot by his gang members. Authorities have yet to issue a statement on the abduction. Katsina remains a hotspot for banditry, with armed groups raiding villages and kidnapping residents. In 2023, Governor Diko Rada launched a vigilante corps to assist security forces in tackling this crisis. Earlier, a conflict and crisis reporter shared his thought on this.
Tsiga is somebody that has connection with the grassroots. I could remember even after he left the army, he contested for election. Even at a time when he couldn't, when he lost the election, he has been participating actively in the grassroots politics, and he has his network in those areas. And again, the issue of banditry, he has played a tremendous role in securing Tsiga community. My home state, Mabai, is in Kankara local government. And Mabai has a very functional and vibrant vigilante community that any other community that borders Mabai has been attacked, except Mabai. So this was similar to what Tsiga is doing in, the Brigadier General is doing in Tsiga. And I spoke to relatives of Tsiga, and they told me that these bandits, they came with motorcycles, they parked the motorcycles at a far distance and they trek, and they came directly to his house. And they were, according to the numbers, even though I did not verify the numbers, and sometimes when people are panicked, they call numbers anyhow. But he says there were over 100 people that stormed his house. But one thing that was true, when they came directly, they went directly to his residence and cycled the residence. And they said they were not there to shoot anybody, they were not there to create any harm, they just want to abduct him and leave. So his security personnel at the gate, they had to run for their lives. They couldn't open the gate, but they ran away to neighboring houses. While the general, when he realized that these people have entered his residence and he knows that he has people inside his house, so he came out and they just took him away by foot. Where the attack happened in Tsiga, formally the place is not part of the frontline areas. And when you talk of the frontline areas, you talk of Dandumi, Faskari, Dusamak, Ankara, and Jibia that borders Zamfara and Niger Republic. Those were the flashpoint or frontline areas. And a lot of families have been displaced. This attack was the second attack carried on the community. And the brigadier happens to come from that village.
Nigeria's House of Representatives has called for stricter enforcement of road safety measures and investigations into alleged telecom irregularities by telecom service providers. This was as lawmakers deliberated on several issues bordering on insecurity, road safety and telecoms regulations during plenary in Abuja. Our News Central's National Assembly correspondent reports.
The House of Representatives discussed extensively on the state of insecurity in the country. Lawmakers tasked the Nigerian police and other security agencies to collaborate with local vigilante groups in conducting extensive operations to clear forests nationwide of bandits and armed herdsmen.
Mr. Speaker, the House is worried that if willful and productive actions are not deployed to ascertain, review, develop and strengthen comprehensive strategies to curbing this unprecedented wave of security crisis, then its scope will continue to widen, perhaps to areas where there has been relatively peaceful, wreaking havoc and hampering economic activities, thereby inflicting untold hardship and hunger on the citizens. And this does not portend well for the future of the nation.
Parliament.
The House also directed the Federal Ministry of Works, the Federal Road Safety Corps, and other vehicle inspection authorities to enforce existing road safety regulations for trailers and petroleum tankers in a bid to improve the safety of road users.
Accidents are primarily caused by factors such as driver's fatigue, poor vehicle maintenance, inadequate training, poor road conditions. Not less than 127 major accidents involving trailers and petroleum tankers have occurred nationwide, with the Okpebholo junctions in Lawani, Kwara State recording as much as 18.
The House of Representatives also resolved to investigate reports of the unauthorized and illegal linking of the national identification numbers of citizens without their consent by telecom service providers.
The recent reports of telecom service providers in Nigeria linking national identification numbers, NIN, to subscribers' lines without their consent, thereby exposing them to criminal activities. The action is a clear violation of the Nigeria Data Protection Act 2023 and the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation, NDPR 2019, which guarantee the right to privacy and protection of personal data of every Nigerian.
Lawmakers called on the Nigerian Communications Commission to launch a probe into the issue and take decisive actions against any telecom provider found guilty of the practice.
Now, are you aware that the venom of the Turkish scorpion, Androctonus turkiensis, also known as the emperor scorpion, costs as high as $10,000 per liter? Well, this was one of the attractions for Corporal Mohammed Usman before he chose to resign from a promising career in the Nigerian Air Force to delve into the world of scorpions. Now, in this special report, News Central's special correspondent on investigative journalism, Marshal Anthony Ononye, takes a look at the story of this single individual as he takes on the task to farm and harvest scorpion venom. His report.
Meet Mohammed Usman, a military personnel with the Nigerian Air Force. Mohammed joined the military service over a decade ago and have since been drafted to hotbeds such as in the northern part of Nigeria, where the war against insurgency is still raging on, and in other active capacities in the military. After several promotions, a few accolades, and victories, just in the middle of his prime as a promising and decorated airman, Mohammed is leaving the force to pursue a different kind of passion some people might find as bizarre. The world of scorpions and their venom.
I'm Corporal Mohammed Usman Alpha, now 13-27-882, Nigeria Air Force. I was recruited into Nigeria Air Force in 2013. I've gone for several operations, Save Heaven, Arbin Kunama, Operation Mesa, and so on. I have a passion for the military and I have a passion for the land. The Nigeria Air Force is a big family, and it's a kind of, among the armed forces, Nigeria Air Force is part of the forces that they carry themselves along when it comes to the activity, the administrative activities and operations. And they're always conscious of their men. They take record of their men. And Nigeria Air Force is a system that is advisable. If anybody wants to come in, it's good.
Despite a successful career in the Nigerian Air Force, where he has served passionately, and several more years to go before retirement, Mohammed says it's time to shift his passion on scorpions. Scorpions, These small, often feared creatures carry in their tails a venom used for defense and hunting. Scorpion venom is potentially the most expensive liquid on Earth, with prices soaring to millions of dollars for just 1 gallon. But what makes it so incredibly valuable?
From the business so far so good, I thank God. I've gained 1 or 2 things that I cannot gain in the service within the region 35 years. I have a property in my mother's side, that was Kogi. I have a property in my father's side, that is Niger. And those property are not gotten with loan.
We're here at the extraction lab where Mohammed has decided to pursue his passion into the world of scorpion venom and exploring its benefits in the pharmaceutical and medical world. These here are the emperor scorpions, and we're going to take a look at how he does the extractions.
This room, structured like a science laboratory, houses over 10,000 emperor scorpions and a few dead suckers, which are kept in transparent boxes. Each scorpion produces about 2 milligrams of venom daily, which is harvested or milked using a pair of tweezers and tongs before being transferred to the cooling unit where they are preserved.
Take care of them, we feed them, we nurse them. It's just like a cow. Once you extract milk from them, definitely you feed them and give them the necessary medication for them to be ready for next extraction.
The difference, though, is Mohammed is milking scorpions for their deadly venom, which is reported to fetch millions of dollars per liter when sold for use in cosmetics and medicines. An online report had said their venom is worth up to $10 million per liter. Extracting this venom is a meticulous and often hazardous task. Specialists must carefully milk the scorpions, a process that involves stimulating the scorpions to release their venom, which is then collected drop by drop. This labor-intensive method, combined with venom's scarcity, drives its high cost. Manusuru Alagba is Mohammed's partner.
I met Mohammed online when I'm searching for how to establish a scorpion farm. During our discussion, he gave me the assurance and the courage that I should go on with the scorpion farming, that it will help me to manage the farm and make it possible for us to do. I advise him to step down from the military work and face the business.
Though some of the claims made by cosmetic companies are unproven, potential medical uses of extracts from the venom are considered scientifically very exciting. While this is still an untapped industry, there is no doubt that with the high value placed on the venom of these creatures and rising demands from both cosmetic and pharmaceutical companies, many more facilities like this will soon spring up, with very ambitious individuals like Mohammed dropping off from existing professions to pick up this newfound passion. For News Central, Marshal Anthony Onaya.
Where religious leaders in the Democratic Republic of Congo are calling for national dialogue amid escalating violence in their country's eastern region. The Catholic and Protestant churches have expressed their intention to engage with key political actors, including the M23 rebel group, in an effort to restore peace. Spokesperson for the Church of Christ in Congo, Eric Senga, emphasized the need for discussions to analyze the root causes of the crisis, propose solutions, and work toward national reconciliation. This appeal comes as M23 and allied Rwandan forces launch a new offensive, raising concerns about further instability in the conflict-hit region. And President Donald Trump says no soldiers by the U.S. would be needed in his Gaza proposal, days after he announced that the United States could take over and own the Gaza Strip. Trump said this in his early morning post on his Truth social platform. Earlier this week, Trump had announced while Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was visiting that the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip. The administration appeared to backtrack on his proposal by Wednesday after facing a wave of criticism from Palestinians, Arab governments, and world leaders. Trump's Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the idea was not meant to be hostile, while the White House said there was no commitment to sending U.S. troops. And now for more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. So, international condemnation has mounted since Trump's statements on Gaza. What can you tell us?
Yes, international condemnation indeed, first of all, coming from the United Nations, who has warned that it's essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing and stressed that Gaza would be an integral part of a future Palestinian state. Now, Malaysia this morning said any proposal for forced displacement constituted ethnic cleansing and a violation of international law. Malaysia's neighbour, Indonesia, said it rejected any attempt to forcibly displace Palestinians or alter the demographic composition of the occupied Palestinian territory. Now, countries like the UK, Spain and Turkey have also denounced the president's plans, with Turkey calling it absurd. Russia, China and Germany also said that it would foster new suffering and new hatred. Now, Saudi Arabia, of course, have rejected this proposal outright, as has Jordan. Now, Jordan's King Abdullah is meeting Donald Trump at the White House next week on Tuesday. But Jordan, along with Israel, have rejected any plans to annex the land and displace Palestinians, and said Gaza recovery plans have to include the Palestinian people.
Okay, so how have Israel reacted to Trump's plan then?
Well, Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu gave an interview on Fox News yesterday where he praised the plan and said, you know, it's something that he absolutely would be interested in. It's something that should be done. And he said he basically praised the thinking of the plan, saying it's a remarkable idea. He said, I think it should be really pursued, examined, pursued and done, because I think it will create a different future for everyone. Now, the Israeli Defense Ministry has also told its military to prepare a plan, to allow any resident of Gaza who wishes to leave to do so. And of course, that is in line for Donald Trump's proposal for the US to take over the territory and resettle the 2.1 Palestinians who are currently there.
How likely is it that Trump's plan will happen, and what could it mean if for the region?
Well, this is the problem, is that it's against international law for the US to kind of just wade in and say, this is our land and we're going to turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East. And nobody wants to see that done by force. American people will not be keen on boots in the ground in Gaza. And we know that Donald Trump has sort of clarified on Truth Social that that wouldn't happen. He's saying that Israel would give the land to the US, but it isn't Israel's to give in the first place. But like I said, American people would really not want to see a repeat of the Iraq War in 2003, which did see boots on the ground. And also for this plan to work, which would mean the ethnic cleansing and displacement of these Palestinian people, where would they go? It'd have to be to the neighboring countries, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, across the Middle East, and they are all completely opposed to this plan. So at the moment, it doesn't look likely that this plan is possible and can go ahead. And lots of people are thinking that perhaps this is just a way of Donald Trump sort of shaking the table and getting his Middle East neighbors to wake up and formulate their own plan for the day after the war is over.
Well, that sounds smart. But thank you very much, Afia, for bringing us up to speed on this. Thank you indeed. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Rabiu Kwankwaso, faction of the New Nigeria People's Party, has rejected Agbo Major as national chairman, and House of Representatives has received 31 proposals for creation of new states across the 6 geopolitical zones. We also told you that churches in DR Congo are seeking national dialogue as M23 rebels launches new offensive. Now do remember, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.